All right, folks, we're going to get started. We will begin the May 28th, 2025 Taxicab Advisory Committee meeting. If our clerk would please call the roll.
Members, please indicate your presence on the tablets. Yeah, the 16th part of the lot is still here. So we still have 10 people not voted, so. Chair, we have a quorum with 11 members present, 5 members absent.
All right, thank you so much. Do we have any non-agenda public comment?
We do not.
Okay, that'll bring us to approval of the minutes. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes from our February 26th, 2025 meeting?
So moved.
All right, thank you, Mr. Majid. We've got a motion there. We'll entertain a second. Is a second for Mr. Wesa. All right, we've got a motion and a second to approve the minutes from from February 26th, 2025. If we could please initiate the vote. Oh, sorry. Any public comment on the minutes?
There are no comments.
All right, proceed with the voting.
Members, please make your selections on your tablets. We still have 2 people that have not voted. Chair, the motion passed with 11 members voting yes, 5 members absent.
All right, thank you so much. That brings us to agenda item number 4. Lenny, if you'd like to introduce the item and begin the presentation whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Yarlo Fiwo. I'm the For-Hire Vehicle Administration Manager, and I'll be presenting the agenda items for this meeting. Agenda item number 4 is the proposed revisions to Taxicab Advisory Committee guidelines. The Taxicab Advisory Committee is currently comprised by 60 members as follows. Most of you are here today with some absences. 1 representative of the MTS Board of Directors, currently Chair Elo Rivera. 6 seats for representation of taxicab permit holders, 3 seats for taxicab lease drivers, and 6 seats for organization representatives. The current TAC member organizations are the San Diego Convention and Visitors Bureau, the San Diego County Regional Airport Authority, the San Diego Convention Center, the GASM Quarter Association and Cross Border Express, as well as the United Taxi Workers Association, UTWSD. The TAC member organizations are unlike the driver and lease driver representatives and permit holders. The TAC member organizations are not subject to elections. The MTS Chief Executive Officer appoints new TAC organization members based on the committee's recommendations. The current TAG guidelines state that any member who misses 4 consecutive meetings may be subject to removal. The Gaslamp Quarter Association has met that threshold, missing over 4 consecutive TAG meetings. On May 1st, For Hire Vehicle Administration emailed the Gaslamp Association requesting confirmation on their interest in remaining a member. The deadline for that confirmation was May 9th, 2025. And unfortunately, For Hire Vehicle Administration did not receive a response. Today, we're requesting feedback from the committee about removing the Gaslamp Quarter Association as an organizational member and replacing it with a new organization. Potential ideas include the Board of Transportation Council, which meets monthly in the San Isidro Chamber of Commerce. Also, the Downtown San Diego Partnership, which has a prevalent presence in the downtown area. Or it could also be a member-at-large organization that should be associated with the tourism, hospitality, park and medical service, or community development, or any other industry or business trade that is identified by this committee as a mutual stakeholder with the taxicab industry. Once feedback is received, staff will review and return to a future TAC meeting with the red line changes to the Taxicab Advisory Committee guidelines. Questions and comments on this item, Chair?
All right, thank you, Lenny. Do we have any public comment on the item?
We do not.
All right, we'll open it up for discussion amongst committee members. Are there any questions or comments for Lenny? Okay, Mr. Weiss.
I like the recommendation if we explore the idea of including the San Isidro Council. You said, you said the business part of it.
Border Transportation Council.
Yeah. The reason being, they're distant away. We got more participation from the inner city. And if we incorporate that, and we do have pressing problems over there that need to be discussed more, and it would be good to include somebody that is in that part of the territory or that part of the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, Mikhail, Mr. Hussein.
Good afternoon. We'll, as UTWs, we'll think about it. Maybe who is the best fit. But my question is, Sheriff Department, they used to be part of this board. I know Peter participated on our behalf. So where they at, actually, Sheriff Department, actually, because we have something in business-wise, because we need to do some of the thing they're doing, actually, and what they're doing for us. I think it would be nice to know if Sheriff Department is willing to come back as a non-voting member. That's what they used to be. Maybe if they can be voting members, so that will help too.
Thank you, Mr. Hussein. The Sheriff's Department remains as a non-voting member as part of the committee. Today, they were unable to attend this meeting, but they are, along with San Diego County Weights and Measures, they are the two agencies that serve as in the committee on a non-voting capacity. So again, with feedback possibly as a replacement for the Gaslamp Quarter Association, which is a voting member, we're looking for a replacement on an organizational category. But just to be clear, the Sheriff's Department is still part of this committee. It's just that they weren't able to come in today.
All right, seeing no other questions or comments, Lenny, thank you for the update here. This is this informational item, so no action required here. That'll bring us to item number 5. Lenny, if you'd like to introduce that item and begin your presentation for that as soon as you're ready.
Thank you, Chair. And just pretty quick, before I move on to item number 5, if at any time there's any feedback by the committee, please email me directly. That way we can consider any recommendations or feedback that this committee might have regarding agenda number 4. Agenda number 5 is the TAC election update. The current Taxicab Advisory Committee 3-year term for permit holders and lease drivers will expire this upcoming June 2025. Similar to the 2022 TAC election 3 years ago, voting will be held online through association voting, which is a voting software that is very convenient for anybody that remembers using it. We'll get some details here, but it will be similar to 3 years ago. We will be utilizing this online voting software program for which we need a valid email address for permit holders and lease drivers in order for them to receive the digital ballot and to be able to cast a vote. The following is an update on the outreach methods, the key dates and applicable deadlines, and finally, the validation for the upcoming 2025 Taxicab Advisory Committee election. First, the outreach methods for lease driver emails. For hire vehicle administration has the email contact information for permit holders, but does not have access to contact information for lease drivers. Again, this is because as the agency responsible for issuing the permit directly to the permit holder, we do have that information on file. However, we don't have information, again, for lease drivers. We are taking the following steps to collect lease driver information. As we did 3 years ago, and we enhanced it with some other methods. We requested a list of all taxi drivers on file from the San Diego Sheriff's Licensing Division. This list that was provided to our FHVA did not include email information, but did include telephone numbers. So this list provided by the Sheriff's Department includes everybody that's authorized to operate a taxi cab. So that would include permit holders who are also operators and just lease drivers. We cross-referenced, for hire vehicle administration, cross-referenced this list from the Sheriff's Department that included permit holder and lease drivers. And we cross-referenced it with our own database in our list of permit holders to single out the lease driver information. We contacted lease drivers by phone and requested a valid email address to participate in the upcoming election. We did find that some drivers stated that they're not interested in participating, or say some drivers also stated that they will not be driving in the near future. We're keeping notes on those. And we also followed up with an email to permit holders requesting email addresses for those lease drivers that we could not get a hold of through the phone. We also want to thank the UTWSD for supporting this upcoming election by sharing information through its social media channels. And Mr. Hussein will be in contact with you. That way we can discuss the material so UTW can post that on your social media channels. The upcoming tasks, approximately 2 weeks from now, in June 15th, we will send self-nomination forms via email to all permit holders and lease drivers on record. From the records that we were able to obtain from both databases. The TAC election information will be posted at our SDMTS website under that link with more detailed information on these deadlines. And also our regulatory inspectors will be distributing a TAC election information flyer to all taxi drivers during their field inspections. That way we're ensuring that permit holders and lease drivers are obtaining this information directly through their email, through our website, and through a flyer during our encounters in the field. On June 30th, For hire vehicle administration will receive or must receive all self-nomination forms via email by 5 p.m. for the close of business day. So that's the deadline for anybody that's interested in participating in the election to submit those self-nomination forms. They're pretty straightforward. It's an easy process to submit them. Current members are eligible for re-election. And again, anybody else that wants to participate, they might do so, and they will do so by meeting the deadline of June 30th. Immediately after that deadline, between July 1st and July 3rd, for hire vehicle administration will compile a list of the nominees based on the self-nomination forms that we collected, and we will provide that information to association voting. That way they can complete the election setup. On July 7th, that's where the voting period begins. And similar to 3 years ago, it will be 2 weeks. The period will be 2 weeks for drivers and lease drivers to be able to cast their vote. On July 18th, that's when the voting period ends. And all those ballots must be submitted by 5 p.m. close of business day. After that, the link will be closed for voting. On July 21st, association voting will provide a certified election letter including a list of voting members and voting record and preserving the ballot language and vote totals for the election. On July 22nd, for hire vehicle administration, we'll notify the newly elected members and we'll introduce them at the following TAC meeting on July 30th. They will be introduced for the next 3-year term. That concludes agenda number 5, Chair. Any questions, comments?
Thank you, Lenny. Any public comment on this item?
No public comments.
All right, no public comment. We will open it up to the committee to see if there's any questions or comments. There is public comment.
Hey, how are you?
All good. Okay. All right. I don't see any comment or questions from the committee members. Lenny, thank you for the presentation on this as well. We'll look forward to next steps. That brings us to agenda item 6. Please proceed with introducing the item and the presentation.
Thank you, Chair. Agenda item number 6 on airport originated trips. This is a topic that we've been discussing in the committee for a couple of meetings now. And according to permit holders and lease drivers, the airport short trips, which are approximately 4 miles or less, which is the distance between the San Diego airport and the downtown area, and overall waiting times continue to increase, resulting in reduced earning for drivers. There are various factors likely in play. The first one would be the increased passenger preference for transportation network companies. In 2024, out of all the combined trips between TNCs and taxicabs that originated out of the airport, only 12.5 of them were provided by taxicabs. So far, in the first semester of 2025, that trend continues on the negative side and diminishing, where only for the first 3 months of this year, only 11.3 of the combined TNC and taxicab originated trips out of the airport, only 11.3 are provided by taxicab. And more details we'll go over more details at another agenda item. Another factor was the ending of the airport's AB permit system for taxicabs, which previously designated a certain number of taxicabs for taking airport trips on certain days. For instance, A permits would provide service Mondays and Wednesdays and Fridays, and Bs would provide service on those other days. Now, since the airport removed that system, There is no cap on the number of taxi cabs that are taking airport trips on any given day, resulting in longer queue waits. As it relates to the concern of reduced earnings from taxi cab drivers due to short trips from the airport, it was requested that for hire vehicle administration researched flat rates for airport originated trips. We did so and presented this committee with an initial research on flat rates for airport originated trips from other airports. There were approximately 18 airports that we researched, and we presented that research to this committee on May 22nd, 2024. The impact that flat rates would have on the competition and passenger costs requires further attention. Due to the fact that San Diego maximum rates of fare, our current maximum rates of fare, are the highest in California, higher than LA, higher than San Francisco. Further increasing these rates, excuse me, with an airport flat rate could result in passengers continuing to choose TNCs over taxi cabs just for a pure cost reason. In order to identify the best possible solution that maximizes drivers' benefits and addresses the above concerns, for hire vehicle administration, we'll be working with the San Diego Airport on the following issues. We will explore virtual queue technologies that could allow drivers to return to the front of the queue after short trips. Some airports that utilize virtual queue technologies have certain methods that do allow drivers to come back to the front line, depending on the threshold of what's considered a short trip. We would also like to get feedback from the airport on any future plans to return on an AB permit system. The possibly recapping the number of ground transportation permits or taxi cabs, and or possible relocation of taxi cabs once the terminal upgrades are completed. Also to be researched further is the advancement of taxicab meter technology, referred also as smart meters, and the benefits that it represents to the taxicab industry. Utilizing this type of technology enables the gathering of data that would remove the need for handwritten trip logs as currently required by our ordinance. Smart meter technology has integrated GPS tracking, which is required by the ordinance. It could also implement virtual rate adjustments through software update, which is highly convenient, removing the need for having a service agent to do the manual adjustments to the old taximeters. This could be done within seconds whenever there is a rate adjustment, not only from MTS, but also from the airport. And I believe there's currently talks about that. It would also include industry standards for payment integration, which is a very, very important consumer protection and feature that passengers are looking for when riding taxi cabs. It would also allow MTS and the industry access to trip data for MTS and for hire vehicle administration to investigate complaints and disputes and assist the industry to make data-driven policy decisions. If flat rates are approved in the future, this technology could also be used to implement flat rates based on distance, based on zones, or other destination criteria. To summarize, we want to provide the best comprehensive solution for the industry in order to maximize benefits for the drivers, and that is why we are taking this approach. We look forward to working with the airport, Mr. Anderson, and the Ground Transportation Department to explore what are the best options and provide and devise a solution in cooperation with this committee in order to maximize driver benefits. That concludes presentation on agenda number 6, Chair. We're open for any questions.
All right, thank you so much. Do we have any public comment on this item?
Yes, we do. Ahmed Malinamar, please make your way to the podium.
On item number 6, my name is Ahmed Malnomar. I work with United Taxi Workers of San Diego as a project manager, and my job was to go out and do a visible study for the flat rate side. And going back many days at the airport and talking to different drivers, we collected data and talked to different drivers. The issue that kept coming back is that drivers is having a hard time going short trips downtowns and waiting for longer hours to be admitted at the airport and in the queue. And then by the time they're next to go on to get their trip, they're not getting a long fare, or they're not getting a fair wage of be able to sustain 4 hours or 5 hours when they clocked in onto that queue line. So in the case of this study, we looked into it and think that to bring it to this committee and to the airport and everyone else who makes the decisions based on this, to see if we can make a flat rate for all short trips near downtown or convention areas, so drivers can be able to earn a decent wage while they're in that queue. I yield my time. Thank you very much.
Next, we have Flavio Oliveira. Please make your way to the podium.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm here to talk about the ATOs. I don't know why the ATO guys, not all of them, because I never generalize, but some of them, the way they approach the tax drivers, it's like we're really bad people. I don't know what it is, maybe because the uniform they use might give them this power trip. I'll be honest with you, I've been treated sometimes when I was approached by the police, real police, with guns, with more respect than the ATOs. And it shouldn't be like that, you know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna repeat again, it's not all of them, okay? There's some HOs, I clap for them, I give credit to them. They're example of their positions. But all the HOs, I think sometimes they're in that position to preparing themselves to be a cop, maybe. If they internalize the position and take the stuff like real, like serious, like treat us like I was a drug dealer or something else. Or maybe they feel more comfortable to approach us the way they approach. Maybe because most of us, we are not Americans, and most of all, we are not white. Because it makes it easy for them to approach us and treat us the way they treat. Not all of them. Some of them are really good people. They approach us with respect, but some of them, they don't. And I don't know why. I have.
That concludes public comment, Chair.
Thank you so much. Lenny, to the extent appropriate, if you don't mind following up with the folks who've made public comment on this item, just to provide them with a little more information or maybe some follow-up questions.
Certainly, Chair. Just to add context to this public comment, the ATOs are the airport traffic officers. So I'm glad that Mr. Anderson is here to speak to the public.
Maybe there's an opportunity to do an introduction or.
Certainly.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it. All right. No additional public comment. We'll turn now to committee members, beginning with Mr. Safer.
Thank you for the study. And it's been almost 1 year since we started talking about this issue. And I was expecting more in-depth study, but that didn't happen. The only thing doesn't include on this study was customers who are traveling far away from the airport. Currently, we are charging $4 a mile, and they're not happy. They're not happy, and they're complaining to us. Like today, I had a fare to Oceanside, the guy told me that was a robbery. He said, you robbed him. That's his last comment. So this flat rate should also include passengers who are traveling far away from this airport. Because right now we're giving a negative image for this airport because they're saying, why the airport allow this kind of price on your meter? That's the guy told me. So we like to include these things in the flat rate. And also the whole principle is to give these people discount. Whoever traveling within a certain mile radius of this airport, we're going to drop our price. That's the whole principle. It's not only people who are traveling short distance, also including people who are traveling far away. We can find a way how we're going to lower our rate. And we want to make it uniform so it's going to happen to all the taxi in the airport. That's one thing. Another thing is you suggested 3 things, which is stop issuing new permits, implementing the A and B system, and applying the front of the line privileges. So this thing happened in the past. I've been in this airport for 15 years, and these things have seen this thing applying in the past. And in most cases, it doesn't work. Like if you say, let's say, front of line privileges means that you're gonna tell the CSR how to ask the customers, how to engage with the drivers. They have to write it down where they're going. They have to time it. They have to know what time they're gonna come back. You're gonna give them too much work. It's already busy at the airport. Now you're gonna add too much work on the CSR. So that did apply in the past and didn't work. So the airport did stop it. Maybe Mike can say something about this thing. The implementing of the A and B permit system. This is where you're gonna double the number of permits. Because let's say if I'm working 15 days with A permits, why the airport is open, the medallion is open, I could go back and get another vehicle, get another B permits, then I'm gonna work 30 days. So what happened is if I have 2 taxi, or let's say if I have 1 taxi, I'm gonna double so you're gonna double the number of permits at the airport. That's not gonna, I don't think that will be visible. The third one is a little bit funny. You said telling the airport to stop issuing any permits. Why not MTS? Why we don't start from here? Let's stop issuing new permits. If people doesn't get the permits from here, they're not gonna go to the airport to get an airport permit. So why we don't start from here and say, let MTS stop issuing any permits? So I think that's something we have to consider. So I wanna know, what do we have to expect next? Because it's been a year, drivers are going to the board meeting. The board members are commenting about this issue because they had experience in the past with the drivers going to a short fare. So they tell the story to the board members. So the board members even they want the MTS to do something about this issue. If we cannot do it, maybe we should give it back to the airport. They say, come back a solution, we're gonna recommendation or anything. So maybe we're gonna get your feedback and talk about it and see what's gonna happen. Because it's been a year and it's more than enough time since we've been talking about this issue. So I suggest maybe we could create a subcommittee, a small group, because drivers, they're getting tired of this issue to talk about. So if we can create a small group, we can discuss in detail back and forth, and then maybe we can come up something. That's something I could see that can happen. And also maybe we can give this thing to the dispatch companies. This issue, the whole issue, let the dispatch company study this issue, let them come up with their own price. If I want to charge $2 a mile for someone going far away, and if I want to compensate that for the driver who's traveling short distance, for the passenger who's traveling short distance from the airport, maybe they could find a way, I'm not saying they're going to have a perfect system, but like somewhere balanced system. It's like, I'm going to drop this price for this one, and then I'm going to make a price for this one, just like Uber and Lyft these days have their own pricing. Why we don't give it to the dispatch companies and let them come up with some ideas, and see if that's going to be possible. So we have like maybe 9 or 10 dispatch companies. So let them come up with their own pricing. So we don't have even to talk about it every year. So this is one possible way I could see it. So I just suggest we're gonna aggressively engage this issue again and maybe talk about it with the stakeholders and come up with some ideas. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Seifu. Lenny, I don't know if you want to respond to any of that, answer any of the questions that were posed.
Thank you, Chair. And Mr. Seifu, thank you for that feedback. That's precisely what we're looking for. And that is very insightful feedback. I completely agree with many of the points that you mentioned. And that is why, as we covered at the agenda, the next steps are to deal directly with the airport. I'm glad that they're here, and we're looking for that cooperation to see what the airport being the largest source of business for taxi cabs in San Diego, what technology, what policies can they leverage in for us to come up with a good solution. I want to tell this committee that during our research with all the other airports that have instituted this type of a flat fare, it has been a uniform approach that only focuses on the fare. We don't believe, and we certainly, and I think the members would agree that based on the data, the last data that we had, which resulted in less than 2 trips per day for cab drivers, compensating that lack of business by raising a fee would be counterproductive. By raising the fares would be counterproductive to the industry. We are taking this approach, which is comprehensive, not only considering a possible fee rate increase, but also, again, what the airport in San Diego might do with, in regards to many of the points that you mentioned, right? The AB permit, the possible displacement of the taxi cab, curb line due to the construction, many factors that this committee needs to consider in order to come up with the best solution. I would say that raising the rates, it's a simple step. However, that's not what we recommend for the industry, because it could be detrimental, as I covered, detrimental to the industry, but it could also be a short fix to a problem that doesn't address the underlying reason. So I look forward to working with you, Mr. Seifu.
Can I ask you?
Yeah.
Because you keep saying raising the rates, also decreasing the rates. There is 2 pages,
Absolutely.
2 factors here: raising and decreasing. It's not only just raising all the time. We want to lower it down.
Absolutely.
So, yes. So I just want to focus on this too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's what, if you recall, in the May 2020, in the May 22nd meeting last year, we cover that too. So we will revise, we will return to that research, but again, complement it with all the other underlying factors that we just spoke, mainly working with the airport. I'm so glad, and I appreciate the study that UTW has done with driver outreach. And I am confident that we will come up with a good result at some point to where we can make data-driven decisions. Unlike other cities, we don't have that capacity yet. I'm confident that we will get to that. And as far as the feedback and developing these issues, my office is always open, always open. I'm look forward to your feedback. You can come up, meet in person with me, send us an email, and we will provide this committee with all that feedback. And as we continue fleshing out this item, once we work with the airport, this will be an item that will be continuously discussed in future meetings, and we can incorporate all that feedback and come up with a good solution to determine how to proceed at some point. But I appreciate your feedback, Abe.
Thank you, Lenny. Let's go to Mr. Hueso and then Mr. Hussain.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think my approach on this is some of us have the knowledge that since we've been in the marketplace for a number of years, that this at the stage that our industry is right now, our marketplace says there's indicators saying that certain things are going up, certain indicators are going up. The demand for transportation seems to be going up, and the taxi industry volume seems to be going down. There are some very obvious indicators that are very difficult to communicate in the marketplace right now, because we in our industry, and I'm saying we, all of us, have our niche, and some of us are too small as an entity to compete in the marketplace, especially when you're competing with Uber, Lyft, and incoming potential transportation providers that are coming to the marketplace. Everything indicates that the market needs service. How do we capture that? There's too many differences of opinion, but the bottom line is some of us have had some business practices that have worked, and we're going away from that in our industry, and we're using a minimalist approach, minimalist exposure, minimalist technology, minimalist outlook. I mean, we have to change our culture, our attitude towards this industry if we're going to compete. I don't expect MTS to solve all my problems or the city of San Diego. If you're in business for yourself, you have to have a business plan. And if that plan's not working, there's various indicators that will tell you why it's not working. Our price right now is too high. It's echoed everywhere we go. So I don't understand why we don't change it, yet our industry is willing to work to do trips from Uber and Lyft. I don't understand that culture of why we're doing that when we can do it ourselves. We're going to have to, if we're going to address this issue, we're going to have to take a more realistic approach. What I mean by that is be realistic with yourself. How much can you contribute to the marketplace? What can you do as a provider of services to attract customers? Because the way it's going, we mentioned something at the airport. You guys want flat fees from the airport. You're penalizing a customer that's going to be paying more money to go somewhere short. They're going to gravitate towards something that's a viable option. Long trips are short because people find another option that's cheaper. So we got to think in these terms of being competitive and using technology to its fullest. And if we can't afford it, you know, we have to band together and get to that destination. But I can go on, and I think this should be addressed collectively with members that are single owners. How can you guys come on board and help the small operators or bigger operators can give resources? So I think I said too much, but I think the bottom line is this deserves more conversation among us if we're going to solve this problem. Thank you, Mr. Chair and Lynn.
Thank you, Mr. Wesa. Mr. Hussein?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Abel actually take all the points, but just to want to echo a couple of things. One is Ahmad, what he's mentioned, UTW is doing a study to make sure what the drivers want. We're a driver advocate for past 15, now 16 years. We will continue to do so. We want to thank the airport authority, Mr. Anderson and his team, allowing us to go inside the airport on the holding lot and doing those research. So we will continue that and we will share with you the data. But what I'm actually enforcing or maybe requesting to have a team meeting before the next TAC meeting, that would be more appropriate so we can hash it out all these issues and how we can work together as far as the several issues Mr. Abel mentioned. So I write email Mr. Anderson and his team last time. The airport, those three, I don't want to go back, all three elements actually you guys did the study, but I believe that there is ways we can get together as a team, as Mr. Antonio mentioned. I think we need to sit together and find out ways that how we can make sure drivers also have a way that when we're talking about short fare, we're talking about, Sheraton, we're talking about behind the airport, the parking lot. It happens because I go that area and I see the driver, they are not happy when they take those kind of calls, when they wait for 5 hours. So I think there's something we can come out as a team and we can advocate. So UTW we are doing our part and we'll share with you those informations. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Majid?
Yeah, just a quick comment to echo what Tony stated. We have simply priced ourselves out of the market. It's as simple as that. And I've said that 4 years ago, or however long it was, that we should not raise our rates, but yet here we are. We're priced out of the market, and by us demanding flat rates that are even higher than the maximum allowable, we're going to further price ourselves out of the market. Some of the suggestions that Lenny, you have put into this recommendation, or if it was a recommendation, I'm not sure. Looking at the number of permits, whether it's the airport permits or the city medallions, whatever that puts a cap on that is probably a good solution. Looking not just at A and B, we used to have I'm sure Tony and George remembers this at the airport. It was a ABCD solution that we had at one point, which I think LAX is currently using right now. I think it's an ABCD type of a model, which I can go back to the records and pull that up. But to make a long story short, we have reached a saturation point. So by you increasing your rates with flat rates, you're going to exacerbate this existing problem. By us adding more taxis to this pie that we're slicing even thinner, you're going to exacerbate this problem. There's no good solution but to cap or come up with an ABCD system. The cap could be on the medallion side, on the permit side. At least if we have a mechanism where we're going to an ABCD system, the drivers that are operating, they know what to expect. So today I'm going to the airport. I'm going to dedicate the entire day to the airport today. Maybe I get a part-time job someplace else or work on the streets or whatever the case may be. But if we continue in this pattern and just keep on raising our prices, just as I predicted 4 years ago, we're going to be sitting here and that 11% will go down to 6% and we're going to be in a deeper hole. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Majid. We'll go to Mr. Anderson and then Mr. Abraham.
Yeah, so we support making the business better. And I think you guys understand what's on the table. If your prices are too high, your customers won't want to use your service. So it's a tough decision, but we can work with you. It being an airport issue only, I kind of think it's a really, whether you're working on the street or at the airport, if your prices are too high, you're not dynamic in your pricing, you have the same issues on the street. If you have too many operators on the street, it dilutes the business. So I don't know if it's really exclusively a airport issue, but we're willing to work with you.
Thank you, Mr. Abraham.
Yeah, this one, we've been in this business long enough and it's not something new. Remember the day it was open, then the business was slow. When they make a cap, the business improved from 0 to whatever it is. Then this will happen when it was open and do this. It's not something magic to know or to calculate for it. Because when there's too much cabs for less demand, what do you expect? There is no magic, you can't change it. We are on the road now, instead of working as a taxi, work as Uber and just make a survival. So the one thing we can do is, hey, what is the demand of the cabs and they can fit? But it doesn't matter, there is no mechanism you can change the airport city to make a living with this tax industry now. There is no investment you can do. Simple, you have a car, you own 1 or 2, and there is nothing you can do with the city or airport because the bigger competition is Uber or Lyft. And when the price is lower, if yours is higher, who's going to do the same thing? You, if you are the airport, which one you take? So there is nothing you can do. If you are telling somebody pay $10 or $20, which is going to take? There is nothing. So it doesn't matter back and forth. What the best thing to do is we have to have maximize the taxi industry at the airport as a city, then there will be enough business for enough drivers. Okay? Unless if you decide this one, airport have no mechanism to do it or a city. And if we can do that, then maybe one day, as Tony said, also, if we have some mechanism to advertise ourselves to the public, then there will be more attractive for taxi. Then we have to work together. And I did this before. Before this tax meeting, we have to be the tax industry. We have to have a meeting before we came here, our demand or a need also to discuss and bring it here. Okay, because we have, the agenda comes here from the airport and city, then we just give our ideas and go. So I don't think so. If you're going to do like this, I don't care what we do. There is no improvement to do it. But there is not improvement on the taxi side. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I don't know if you have, Mr. Hussain. Apologies.
Yeah, just wanna follow up several comments regarding about the price reduction. A long time ago, 2014, when we left the cap, the idea was innovation, price reduction, and customer service. Those three elements. And some of the dispatch, they did good job, including UTWSD Ride United. We created app platform. So in that sense, actually, that's good. But $4, and I understand actually at the Laney side with the CBI Consumer Price Index, that's what you go through all the time. But San Diego, I think we have to think about why we are the highest rate in all United States. That's the first question we have to ask ourselves, and how we can bring our business back. In order to do so, that's what we're doing, and this study actually to make sure what the drivers want as a UTWSD. Then we will bring it to you. I think we need a different model. San Diego, we can't go through with CBI all the time because it's not helping for the driver. That's what I believe. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hussein. Lenny, I don't know if there's anything else you'd like to add or.
Yes, Chair, pretty
Right
quick.
here. So,
Oh, sorry.
Yes, hi.
Sorry about that.
No worries. Thank you. Yeah, I think one of the problem is having all taxis pay the same. I mean, as far as, like one guy charges more than the other. So if all taxis charge the same, we'd be a more plain, uneven, what's the word?
Level playing field.
A more plain, anyways, if all taxis are the same, then probably better for, so we can make this whole thing easier, as opposed to one guy charges $20 and this guy charges $27 and $16. So which is it? I mean, flat rate doesn't make any sense, as opposed to all taxis charge the same. So they can have more like, not like a flat rate, but an average from the airport to downtown, $25 per se, as opposed to different taxis, different fares. So I think that might be a part of the solution.
Thank you. Lenny, sorry, you were about to say.
Thank you, Chair. Well, thank you again, everybody, for the feedback. I think that apparently we have, we're discussing fares, we're discussing costs in terms of fares, as Mr. Hussein mentioned. We're also discussing policy issues in terms of limiting or capping, the current numbers. And we're also discussing operational issues in terms of what the airport can do to leverage technology. And that's what it further supports the approach that we're taking in terms of reaching out to all the stakeholders and gather feedback to come up with a good solution. This is not a problem that's only in San Diego, Chair. I do want to point that out, that this is a problem that the taxi cab industry is facing nationally, at least here in the United States. And I'm certain also, in other countries, but in the US, it's a pressing problem, a pressing issue, especially with airports that are further exacerbated, I would say, in San Diego or in any other cities that have an airport in close proximity to their downtown or business districts. So again, everything's on the table in terms of what would be a best solution. And there are many other factors. I do want to point that out. There are many other factors to consider. Insurance costs, other modes of transportation coming into different areas in different cities, such as autonomous vehicles, new TNC companies, and many limo, and the concept of the shuttle service coming back also to some areas. So this is an ongoing issue. I am glad that we are all well versed in terms of what the problems are from a driver's perspective, from a dispatch permit service perspective, and from a permit holder perspective. We need to, and we will outline those concerns and again evaluate what's the better solution in terms of just not relying on raising fees, which was Mr. Majid and Mr. Wesso did say would further alienate passenger preference to other modes of transportation. So, Mr. Anderson, I'm looking forward to working with you and your department to see what the airport has in mind, in the short term, in order for taxi cabs, and then we'll get that feedback and we'll consider it for further review.
Thank you. And apologies for my ignorance here. LAX, it looks like, has a placard that Uber and Lyft drivers have to secure in order to pick up. Is that a requirement? There's a quiz involved in that.
We don't require that, but our agreement does require Uber provide an educational training for their drivers.
Okay. Just in thinking about, I think one of the things that from the outside looking in has struck me as particularly unfair about the way that the Uber and Lyft have impacted the taxi industry are the different standards that are applied to being able to work in the profession. And for whatever it's worth, I don't think it's unreasonable to have an expectation of folks who pick up at the airport have established some level of professionalism, understanding of the airport in a manner that's consistent with the other folks in the taxi industry. That doesn't solve for this whole problem, obviously, but at least does create a little additional friction before the market can be flooded with Uber and Lyft drivers. And then again, I think I appreciate this conversation happening. What is essentially going on here is that we have an industry that is responding to when we talk about level playing fields, Uber and Lyft did not have to make money for a long, long time. And so they were able to establish market dominance on a completely different field than you all were playing on. And so here we are, you're trying to pick up the pieces and figure out a way forward after the fact. And so it's not simple to do. Lenny, I do appreciate all the work that you've put into this. Samantha, you as well. I know you've helped with the research. So I know that we'd like the conversation to move even quicker and for this to get done. But there's at this point, over a decade plus of Uber and Lyft, really kind of doing a number on your ability to make a decent living here. And it was always hard. And it's not going to be simple to find a way out. So thank you again, Lenny. That brings us to item number 7.
Mr. Chair, before you go forward, I think you should add something to that conversation because it's very important in this sense. There's a group of people here that they're working in the San Ysidro area. And you mentioned something very specific as far as the enforcement of taxi cab operators was very different to the Uber and Lyft experience. That has, if they write a book on that, they're going to find out that government failed us. And government failed us because we were continuously enforced and the other industry was not. And they were able to enter the airport and serve the public like taxi cabs, even though with our opposition and us trying to say we need to level the playing field because they're becoming taxi cabs. They became taxi cabs with the blessings of government. And that's unfortunate, but it's a true fact. And I think that should be put into that equation. Thank you. Sorry for the interruption.
No, all good. 100%. I think the reality is that either some folks just kind of welcomed it as innovation and others, I think saw that there was some big money behind the tech companies that were running these platforms and weren't willing to stand in the way in the same way that they might have otherwise. And so again, here we are. But absolutely.
They didn't have a Lenny.
No, they did not have a Lenny. They did not have a Lenny. All right, Lenny, if you'd like to introduce item 7. Yeah, if you want to do item 7, please.
Thank you, Chair. Item number 7 for Highway Vehicle Administration Operations update. We always reiterate the primary method of communications as our in our operation updates for all purposes. It facilitates business, and again, due to our limited staff, we rely on email communications as our primary method. It is the responsibility of the permit holders to make sure that our emails from the MTS domain go through their email filters, we do get many concerns that the emails are not, they're not receiving emails. And most of the time it's because they end up in their spam or junk mail. In the event that there is an email change, on a physical address change, a telephone number change, permit holders must notify us of any changes. That way we can update our database. We're also, our staff is available by appointment only. We do strive to provide the best service possible in urgent matters, but in order to meet with one of our analysts or one of our inspectors, we do request that there's an appointment to be made by either by phone or by email. All calls and the emails will be returned by the next business day. This is our staff directory. That way it is handy for permit holders, lease drivers, or the general public to either give us a call or send us an email. This is a standing item also, the wildcatting issue that continues to be a problem in San Ysidro and Otay Mesa. And last week we had a meeting with a follow-up meeting with the San Diego District Attorney for the Southern Division. This was May 22nd, and we met with San Diego Police, with the California Public Utilities Commission, and the San Diego District Attorney, who hosted the meeting. Also present were our department and our MTS media department. Our taxi drivers report that wildcatting activity continues to be an issue, and it's actually increasing in these areas. During the meeting, we discussed enforcement strategies, including the installation of signs prohibiting wildcatting. The outcome and the takeaway from that meeting is that the CPUC will be working with them, and they expressed interest in increasing their role to see if we can mitigate that problem. We will provide constant updates to this committee, and we will be working with a PUC team of investigators to devise ways to mitigate the wildcat enforcement problem. This is an update on our regulatory fee payment update. I mean, on the regulatory fee payment period that ended in last March. And on the invoices that everybody received in January 22nd via email. And between January 6th and March 3rd, we collected the regulatory fee payments and vehicle inspection forms and the annual statements of various locations, such as we did on the previous years. We collected payments and documentation at the airport holding lot. Thank you, Mr. Anderson, for facilitating us collecting payments and documentations at the airport holding lot. We also collected them in person in San Ysidro, in Otay Mesa, CBX, and also via Dropbox at our lobby. We also, for the first time, we started doing inspections on Saturdays to facilitate that for permit holders who was easier for them to conduct business on those Saturdays. We did it right across the street in front of the former Greyhound bus stop. For those permit holders who could not meet the original deadline, there was a late payment deadline that ended in March 31st that required the additional payment of $100 late fee on top of the regulatory fee. We collected a total of 59 late fee payments. And we also provided a regulatory fee waiver to 7 wheelchair accessible vehicles. These are the companies that currently have at least one wheelchair accessible vehicle in their fleet. We're providing fee waivers for them to keep them in circulation, and also anybody that would like to get a new permit for a wheelchair accessible vehicle, we will also waive those fees, the new application fees. As far as there's a breakdown of the permit renewals and the permits that were voided. And I point to the number of taxi cabs. Keep in mind that we also have a significant number of non-emergency medical permits in our under our purview. And for taxi cabs, we billed 854 taxi cab permits. And out of those 854, 794 paid, resulting in a significant number of taxi cabs that were voided, 60, or 7% of the original fleet. We also had a considerable number of non-emergency medical permits that were voided, almost doubled the amount of taxi cabs that were voided. This is a breakdown of the field statistics. They are low due to the fact that during these months, our regulatory inspectors were dedicated to collecting the regulatory fee payments and documentation in the areas that I just mentioned. Still, in this trimester, there were a considerable number of contacts that were conducted in the field per vehicle. In the warning numbers, again, they reflect low numbers due to the fact that our inspectors were allocated to collecting the fee payments and the documentation. As far as the customer feedback cases, there's a comparison between the previous trimester, the last 3 months of 2024, compared to the first 3 months of 2025. And I always say that the chart that we like to see go up is the complement chart. And all the other ones, we also keep close attention. We get the majority of complaints on route behavior from drivers that in essence don't like to provide a short trip, and that results in a negative experience for the passenger, along with unsafe driving and overcharging, again, related to providing a short trip. For the first trimester of this year, these are the airport trips that were provided by the airport's Grant Transportation Department. And this is reflective of the 11.3% number of taxi cab trips that are provided versus the majority of the trips that are provided by transportation network companies. After taking into account the number of permits that were voided, there are currently 822 taxi cabs, out of which 85 remain surrendered for various reasons. The permit holder or the driver might be traveling, or they choose not to work on any given time, but 737 remain on the road. That concludes agenda number 7, Chair. I'm open to any questions or comments.
First, is there any public comment?
Yes, there are. Laura Ramirez, please make your way to the podium.
Hola, buenas tardes. Vengo muy molesta.
Hi, good afternoon. She's here. She's very bothered. I'm going to be translating for her, by the way.
Porque la rueda de prensa que tuvieron en noviembre, que fue el señor Rivera, Leonardo y no hicieron nada.
She's upset because after the press conference in November where Mr. Ilo Rivera and Lenny were present, nothing has been done.
Tuvimos más problemas, más maltratos para mí, más, ¿cómo se dicen? Ando muy molesta, realmente, más amenazas. Ahí hay gente de lo peor, venden fentanilo, traen armas, todos los días me maltratan, todos los días.
She's very upset because after that, the mistreatments from the wildcatters have been increasing. Every day she's receiving threats and other mistreatments from them. And she's very, very upset about the situation.
Ellos tienen más derecho que nosotros, no les hacen nada, va la policía, se para 2 horas ahí, ve todo lo que está pasando y no hace nada.
She says that they have more rights than taxi drivers do, that when police comes, they're just there for a couple of hours, observing what's happening, the problem that's happening, and nothing is done to correct the problem.
El año pasado ya un reitero, ahí tuvieron que ir por él porque se pasó de fentanilo. No pasa nada, o sea, no sé qué va a pasar hasta que a mí me den un golpe o me hagan algo, porque yo siempre estoy peleando con ellos.
She said that recently Wildcatter was overdosing on fentanyl, and she's very worried about her safety, that something's going to happen to her, and then until then, something needs to be done.
Es feo que nosotros no tengamos nada de protección. Ellos va el MTS, los ve ahí parados y nos ve a nosotros, se van derechos con los taxis y a ellos no les hacen nada. Tom y Mark fueron la semana antepasada y lo que hicieron fue movernos a nosotros y a ellos no les hicieron nada.
So she says that it's not fair that the taxi cab drivers don't have many protections, that when MTS comes, they kind of forego the Wildcatters and instead enforce some rules on the taxi cab drivers and move them from their stalls to another place.
Ya no sé la verdad qué necesitamos hacer. Nosotros pagamos aseguranza, pagamos el permiso, andamos bien y no nos escuchan. O sea,
she doesn't know what needs to be done now. They pay insurance, they pay the fees, and she feels that they're not being listened to.
Ya han pasado muchas cosas ahí, pero no sé qué esperan, porque esto sí es feo. Acá ahorita hay un balaceado ahí, lo balacearon en Tijuana, una persona que la agarraron cruzando un arma para Tijuana, o sea.
She doesn't know what you're waiting for to take action. There's someone that was shot in Tijuana, and then someone who is trying to cross a firearm into Tijuana. So she's waiting for the action to happen.
Para nosotros los taxistas es muy peligroso ahorita, Otay, y necesitamos que nos escuchen, porque yo pienso que ya es demasiado tiempo, la rueda de prensa no sirvió para nada, fue una burla para nosotros.
So she says that it's been enough time for you to take action, that you need to start listening to the taxi cab drivers, and that the press conference was just basically laughing at their faces because it didn't work for anything.
Y gracias, okay?
She says thank you.
Next, we have Juan Castro. Please make your way to the podium.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Juan Castro y mi nombre es Juan Castro, buenas tardes. Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Juan Castro.
Good afternoon. My name is Juan Castro.
Yo tengo, vamos a decir, 30 años trabajando en San Isidro.
He's been working in San Isidro for 30 years.
Nunca he trabajado en otra parte más que en San Isidro.
He's never worked in another place other than San Isidro.
Y veo que ha cambiado mucho el sistema.
He's seen that the system has changed a lot ever since he's been there.
Nosotros, como dijo la compañera, tenemos mucho problema con los reiteros.
He says that, like his partner said, that there's been a big problem with wildcatters.
No sé qué espera la ciudad hasta que golpean a uno o uno golpea a otros, a ellos pues.
He doesn't know what the city is waiting for, whether that is for someone to be hit, physically hit, or some other altercation to happen.
Tenemos videos, tenemos fotos de las personas, le llamamos a la policía y no va, o cuando anda ahí nos dicen que no pueden hacer nada porque quieren que el de más arriba les diga y no sabemos quién sea el más de arriba.
He says that they have photos and video and that when police are there, they don't do anything, even though they tell them, and the police says that they can't do anything because they're waiting for their higher ups to tell them to do something, and the taxi cab drivers don't know who that higher up is.
Quizá quieran que vaya uno con Trump, pero no creo que nos ayude él tampoco.
He says maybe people are waiting for the taxi cab drivers to go to President Trump, but he probably won't help either.
Y pues en realidad necesitamos mucha ayuda de ustedes porque así como vamos ya se está pasando del límite.
He says that they really need help from all of you because the current situation is reaching its limit.
Si algo nos pasa, pues ¿qué es lo que va a pasar? Que vamos a demandar no sé a quién, a la ciudad, al MTS, al sheriff o a quién, porque ya se les ha avisado. Precisamente traje una carta ahorita y con los mismos compañeros también hay mucho problema porque tienen muchas llamadas de los compañeros, de los quejas y no hacen nada. Entonces, no sé qué hacer.
So he says that if something were to happen, the taxi cab drivers are ready to sue either the city, MTS, or the sheriff. They don't know who, but they have a letter of support to do something about this. And there's also some problems with within the taxi cab drivers because there's a lot of complaints that are not being heard or taken action on.
So, yo es todo lo que les digo, que esperamos que nos pase algo. Y como les digo, ¿a quién vamos a acudir cuando nos pase algo? ¿A quién demandamos? Porque la ciudad, el sheriff, el MTS, todos saben lo que está pasando y no hacen nada.
So they're basically expecting for something to happen to them in terms of how dangerous the situation is. And they don't know who to reach out to for help anymore because everybody, MTS, the city, and the sheriff are aware of what's happening and nothing is being done.
Fuimos a la Cámara de Comercio San Isidro y alguno de aquí de la ciudad, no sé quién es, se adjudicó los letreros de advertencia sobre los raiteros. No sé quién, no quiero decir nombres, pero se adjudicaron que ellos.
Your time has expired.
Tiene raite, no se fija en los letreros que andan buscando. Entonces, ¿qué hacemos? Todo yo, gracias.
So basically, this last thing that he says is that after the signs were installed, nothing has happened because everybody who's looking for a ride is just looking for the ride, but not paying attention to the signage.
Next, we have Cesar Lopez. Please make your way to the podium.
Buenas tardes, soy César López, trabajo en la entrada de Otay y también vengo a decir lo mismo que tenemos muchos problemas con los reiteros.
Hi, my name is Cesar Lopez. I work at the Otay Port of Entry, and he's here to voice his concerns about the situation of the wildcatters in the border area.
Y te quería decir, Leonardo, que ocupamos unos letreros ahí de que se ponga ahí donde están todos ellos que es ilegal usar ese tipo de transporte sin permiso.
He says that more signage is needed for or putting the wildcatters in notice that it's illegal to do wildcatting services in that area.
Y sí, como dijo la compañera, a uno de los reiteros lo agarraron con una pistola cruzando para México, ¿verdad? Pero traía la pistola por si uno le echa bronca, pues sacarla, pienso yo, para atacarnos.
He's recanting the incident where a wildcatter had a gun that he was gonna cross into Mexico, that he got caught. And he's saying that he's expecting the raiteros or the wildcatters to use that against the taxi cab drivers if something were to arise.
Y pues ya es mucho tiempo, hay que actuar con algo, porque ya es demasiado, no pueden atacar con pistola.
He said it's been too long, that something needs to, some action needs to be taken now, the situation is becoming too much, and that it's a possibility for them to be attacked with a firearm.
Y la otra cosa es que van los inspectores y estamos nosotros en otra área que no es nuestra área de taxi, porque ellos están ahí ocupando lugar. Y la cosa es que llega el inspector y nos quiere dar ticket porque estamos lejos de nuestro lugar. Pero si nos paramos en el lugar de nosotros, en el taxi stand, ahí nos vamos a empezar a decir cosas y a agarrar a golpes. Por eso no estamos en el stand de taxi.
He says that when inspectors come to the border area to do their routine checks, that the taxi cab drivers are displaced and they're forced to be go to another area, and the inspectors then harass them to move into their designated area. But they said that he says that escalations can happen and tensions can rise because too many things are not being done.
Era todo. Espero que echen ganas, que nos escuchen. Gracias.
And this is everything he has to say. He hopes that people listen to him, and people who can do things listen to what they have to say.
Next, we have Ahmed Malinamar. Please make your way to the podium. And give me 1 minute to switch this out, please.
Sure. Right, is it green? Yes, it is. All right, I'm coming back again as Ahmed Malnomar, UTWSD representative. As some of these members are actually talking about, I have been that area, Otay border entry, and where taxi stands were supposed to be at, they get forced out to be on the other side. And because of those rotorios and illegal vehicles parked over there and taking customers at all time. And then I have pictures. Retaliations has happened to some of the drivers where their cabs got scratched and actually tagged, some of them with graffiti tags. So those are areas that, and this is when also the asylums was being dropped off at San Isidro border entry. This is some of the things that we actually mentioned this many months. Hopefully enforcement can happen, MTS can do their part, but we do need the help of the City of San Diego Police Department to step on the plate on that area as well and to do some enforcement in that area. But I do want to talk about, my topic is the WAVE program. The issue about the WAVE taxi permit that's being waived at the same time is in the industry of the WAVE, when you go out and seek for an insurance, they consider you as an NMT. NMT insurance costs very high and very expensive. And that is why it is a big challenge to be able to get WAVE transportation in the sectors we are in. But as United Taxi Workers of San Diego, we're pursuing with some of that area, and hopefully we could get an insurance that could say it's only considered as a taxi, it's not an NMT business, where we're only transporting folks in the state.
Your time has expired. Next, we have Kamran Hamidi. Please make your way to the podium.
Hello, Chair and committee members. I want to make 3 points. One about the Wildcatters. I actually seen a taxi switch from being a taxi to becoming a Wildcatter. So that's how bad the problem is. There's guns and drugs. Thank you for coming out, Councilmember Elo Rivera, to the press conference. Summer Steffen was there. She said she was interested in working with you. So if you can reach out to her. She also said she would talk to the police chief. So we need change through design. And if you can please continue your efforts in that regard. Regarding the reserves, we have $1 million, over $1 million in reserves. I wanted to provide an update to the committee and to the public that the case is scheduled for July. MTS unfortunately has hired an attorney from Sacramento, I think, or San Francisco and Minnesota. So I think that is not a good use of our money, but hopefully we'll get some of that money back. And I think there will be a Zoom link so you can actually watch the case. So that should be fun. And about elections coming up, I just hope there are candidate statements again. Every time we had an election, I was on this committee 2011, I think, my father in the early 90s. We used to have candidate statements where we can find out what each candidate's about, one page. That's all my comments. And please, and the airport trip fee is coming up again. We brought that down twice through legal means. We hope that you would help us to get some of our money back, the $1 million, and then also help with the Wildcatters and Otay and San Ysidro. Thank you.
That concludes public comment, Chair.
Thank you so much. Do we have any committee member questions or comments? Mr. Seifa?
Yes, I have a question for Lenny. Recently, we have seen a lot of MTS officers at the airport enforcing the sheriff ID, the small badge. Now, my concern is 10 years ago, the airport removed everything to have a level of playing field for TNC and taxi. So they removed the dress requirement, they removed the ID requirement, they removed the way, the color, the dress, and the sheriff requirement. So they removed that. Now, after 10 years, now you want to enforce it back again, technically, because drivers are not getting a warning, they're just getting a ticket. So now, my question is, I know it's in the ordinance, but the problem is they do it in front of the customers. You're loading the customers. I am not against those MTS officers, they're doing their job, but they're standing next to the number 1, number 2, number 3 lines, and then they're gonna start checking your ID. I'm trying to create this in your mind. What do you think the customer, what kind of picture the customers will create on the taxi industry? There is a MTS officer standing next to you, and he's going all the cars and checking IDs. It doesn't look good on the taxi industry. Seriously, you want to do it in the taxi holding lots. Do it outside the airport. I mean, inside the airport, but away from the customers. I have to stop my taxi cab to show my ID or one of the MTS officers. Do you think that's professional? So a lot of drivers are not happy. You know, this thing is already eliminated by the airport, but now you want to bring it back again, and you want to side driver $193. Give them a warning. Let them get the message. You didn't want, make sure you're going to wear it next time. If I see you next time, I'll give you a ticket. That makes sense. You know, I told them I cannot be perfect all the time. You know, there might be days that I come with my ID and go back and get it. But getting cited right away, just like it's a big crime, it's not fair. Seriously, we live in 2025. We are talking about driverless cars. The time zone is different now. You're talking about 10 years, it's a different story. Now, everything is changed. So I'm just, on the behalf of all the drivers, I'm asking you professionally, please, let's not side drivers. It's not fair. It's not appropriate. You know, we're suffering, waiting 5-6 hours just to get a fare. When you come to the airport, you're gonna get cited. For something that I understand, you know, we have the sheriff ID right there. If the customer needs something, they can look at the sheriff ID. We have so many things, like, you know, we drive Uber and taxi. You know, time is changed, big time. We have to accept this change. Please, let's not side the drivers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Seifa. We'll go to Mr. Hueso and then Mr. Hussein.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think it's important to assess that MTS, not even 1%, their staff is not even 1% of the number of cabs that are out there operating. And I know a lot of us have high expectations from law enforcement, but I think considering the staffing that they have and the unit that goes out there operating, I think we should be grateful. And I'm not appeasing to, I'm not, you know, catering to the situation. I'm commenting on the realistic side of reality that for a small unit, I think the services that we get from them, I'm grateful for their attention, especially Lenny and the staff, for what they've been doing in most recently in these years that we've been operating. That's not to say it can't be done better. I think they're always striving to do that, but we have to try ourselves too. The San Isidro issue has been an ongoing problem since 1982, since I was in the industry. That's how long I've been addressing the issue. And I think nobody has taken the border responsibility, saying whether it's San Diego PD, a security enforcement team, MTS is doing their job. The rest of the entities, I think, somebody needs to be, I don't know if we, with the city, can appoint somebody to take responsibility to enforce that border, and in the sense of we pay for enforcement, our regulatory fees, we have an enforcement team out there, but there's other entities that are not doing their job. At the airport, I've never seen recently the PUC go out there or other entities, the Sheriff's Department and the other counties, but I do see MTS doing after their job. And considering for their size, I'm saying, thank you for doing your job. But at the same time, we are ears and eyes for them too, and we have to think outside the box. We get this opportunity with the chairman here, Mr. Eloy, to try to engage him in some of the issues. If we can condense them in the sense of making them not so large, because there's too much enforcement here that's required for the police, MTS, the sheriff. At the border's quite big, and we're one entity, I think, that gets enforced more than any other, I should say, regulatory agency. So having said that, I'm grateful for the things you guys have been doing, but we need to do a lot more and probably focus. San Isidro is one of the biggest port of entries. There's a lot of activity as far as density, just like the airport here in San Diego. It's a lot of density, but the international border offers opportunity, and we've been pushed in different sides of the border and different parking areas. And I think it's time that we at least form some kind of, with our collaborative efforts, maybe with the city or the police department, somebody needs to take hold of that border and say, this is the way taxi cabs are going to operate, and PUC and et cetera, and maybe get a team effort of all the agencies to solve this problem, because it's going to get uglier in the sense that I know the lady that was speaking here, she's a permit holder, and she gets a lot of grief as a woman operating out there at the border. And if she was my mother, I would take arms and protect her, because there is a lot of things going down there that are very difficult to endure as a lady and as an operator of a taxi cab who's dealing with the general public one-on-one. So if we don't take that serious, I mean, it is a serious effort. I mean, a serious issue. And to wrap this up, there's not enough time here to focus on all the issues, but let's write down the issues. And Lenny has already put agenda items for their next meeting. We can focus on other agenda items, send it to Lenny, but develop your own list of items that are important to you and develop some kind of a plan so that we at least can target something one at a time, because we speak here and we just speak and we don't call ourselves to action, we're not going to get some things done. And our industry has a lot of issues. So thank you for the opportunity, and hopefully we can go forward with some type of agenda to help out our industry. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Weiss. We'll go to Mr. Hussein, Mr. Abraham, and then Mr. Majid.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't want to say much about the WTWSD. We are doing our work in terms about going out and talking different drivers in different area, including the border and Rotera issue. I'm here, Lenny. Is there anything we can do? We will help you. I know that you guys doing your work, but what MTS can do? That's the question, and what Sean and his office can do. Those are the two things we have to figure out. Actually, who can do the work? We really need enforcement over there. And I see their headache, and and thank you for coming. We listen to you. So with that, as far as the MTS giving ticket for the name badge, Mr. Abel mentioned, we come a long way. There's a penalty guideline we fight over the years, and we take out some of the penalty line, a lot of them, and we put the industry back actually where it needs to be, how we can be visible, what the other people do compared to Uber and Lyft, the way they do, the way they dress, and all of that thing we know. So with that, I think my suggestion is not to do on the airline, for ticketing. I think that's a good request for Abel. And let's figure out, because I know that what else we can do in terms of a name badge. Name badge is part of the MTS ordinance, but we believe that, but we don't want to be ticketing and look image. We want to bring the taxi industry back, but we don't want officers to come on the island and asking question. It doesn't look good. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Abraham?
Yes. When we are here, we are working for the best of the industry. Before it was owner, driver. Now we are on the same level. Whatever hurts, it hurts us all. We try to get home something altogether. Now I heard about the money we're going to be sued, and our money is going to go from what we have and go out of it. So is that as we are the owners of the money, and then we have to pay for a lawyer? Does that make sense? Can we bring it here and settle it? How we can do that as person, a member of this, and so in the company, and spend our money for something we don't need? Does that make sense? So is there a way we can settle this? Because what happened, in order to save money, then we are hiring somebody. So as we owners of the industry, and the money is ours, so we have to use it as a way with it. We always discuss how to use it. We need when we need it, and we keep it when we need it. So this are against us, so to spend the money. Then instead of having that, then we use it, it will less. So what are we saving? So I hope we can work out together and settle it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Abraham. Mr. Majid?
Yes, Tony mentioned that this problem at the San Isidro and Otay has been going on since 1982. And first of all, thank you so much for putting up those signs. I know they might make some difference, but not a whole lot. I was recently there myself, and as soon as I parked my car and got out of the parking lot, I was solicited by 6 people. Do you need a taxi? So on and so forth. So, and we have brought this to the attention of police department. It doesn't get that much attention, but money always talks. So I don't know if there's a way. We're talking about this surplus that we want, each of us want $25 back in our pocket. I think there's a better way to deal with this. Perhaps the police department, we can compensate the police department for some overtime compensation for a police officer to go out. I mean, these people are not very complicated to find. Like I said, as soon as I walked out of the parking lot, I was solicited by 6 people. So perhaps we can attribute some of that money to overtime pay for police department to dedicated 1 or 2 officers to go out there maybe once a week or whatever and enforce the law. Because we've been asking, Tony can attest to this, we even had a police officer on this committee at one was a member of this committee, and we didn't get anywhere. So the only way that we can probably get ahead is to say, you know what, we'll pay for 1 police officer once a week or twice a week to go out there and enforce the law. Maybe that would result to some sort of improvement or possibly solution.
Thank you, Mr. Majid. Appreciate all the committee members' questions and comments. Lenny, before I have a couple of comments to make, but want to see if you have any response or additional thoughts you'd like to share.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, to summarize the constant issue with the wildcatters, as I reported, we will be working at this point with the Public Utilities Commission and remain. There's a public safety issue. First and foremost, I mean, as far as the description of the public comment of weapons and drug use. So it's risen to the point of a public safety concern, to where I do want to make clear that our inspectors are limited in their capacity to combat this problem. This is certainly a public safety issue that involves many criminal elements. However, we remain open to cooperate with law enforcement agencies and devise a better plan to combat the problem. As far as wheelchair vehicle insurance, I'm glad that you brought that up, Ahmed. That's something that's beyond our control, that's part of a bigger issue that has to do with the rising cost of insurance. UTW is right that that would hinder in some point on many prospective applicants that do want to place a wheelchair accessible vehicle in service, only to find out that insurance costs are very prohibitive because they are treated as a non-emergency medical vehicle instead of a taxi cab. That is an issue that's, again, a nationwide issue in terms of increasing insurance costs and the limited insurers that are willing to come into the taxi cab insurance market. Unfortunately, that's outside of our purview. As part of our, as a committee that MTS is part of, the International Association of Transportation Regulators, we are bringing that as a standing item because it's a nationwide issue, and we're looking for solutions in feedback and possible ways to address this problem. As far as the ticketing on the island, ticketing will continue. It was my expressed instruction to issue a ticket and issue citations to drivers. I completely disagree with the premise, Mr. Seifu, that our job is precisely to do that. I don't see any excuse. We've all been in the industry, and I just don't see any excuse as to why a driver, knowing that they need to display an ID, something that is as simple as doing this, yet they don't do it. There is no excuse. There is absolutely no excuse for a taxi cab driver, for hire vehicle driver. And we issue citations to all of the drivers who do not comply with Ordinance 11. That is our job. And we need to make sure that the passenger, when they get into that vehicle, they are sure that they're being driven by somebody that is authorized to be driven. There is no excuse, absolutely none. We will continue issuing tickets because that is our job, with the hopes that drivers understand that they need to comply with the rules. It's not only an MTS rule, it's a San Diego Sheriff's rule, and it's an industry standard. When you go to a restaurant, they're obligated to display their food rating. The basic cornerstone of regulation for a driver is to display an ID. And it is our hope that by drivers, by the way, we, and you mentioned something that in the last 10 years, we were not issuing tickets or the airport didn't require that. It's been in, our ordinance has not changed in terms of requiring drivers to display their sheriff ID and wear their name tag. We recently started enforcing precisely for that reason, that warnings do not work. You warn a driver and, oh yes, I'm sorry. And we have documentation of drivers that do not comply with the most basic requirement of displaying their sheriff ID for the passenger, not for us, for the passenger. And again, I personally do not believe that if a driver is unable to comply with that basic requirement, then how can we expect the driver to comply with overcharging or comply with fares? It's only common sense that maybe a non-compliance issue needs to be addressed. And by the way, we've sent in the last year 3 emails to everybody on file. It's called, in my email, if some members can ascertain that, it's called Avoid a Ticket. Simple, with pictures on how to avoid a ticket, and it consists of 3 things. First and foremost, display your ID. Second, wear your name tag. And third, have your trip sheet. If you comply with those things, we'll leave you alone. If you choose not to comply with that, then we will do our job and we will issue you a ticket. Whose fault will that be? It's the driver's fault. They can go to the court and they can explain to a judge why they choose not to display their ID. After we cover that in their training, the sheriff covers that in the issuance of the ID, and we cover that in warnings and with emails. After that, we are yet to lose a case in court where the driver comes up with an excuse as to not to comply with that. So again, that's our job, to protect the public. That's a consumer protection, and we will continue to enforce Ordinance 11 as required.
Okay, Mr. Sabo, we're gonna, no,
Just want to
Mr.
make
Sabo,
a
no,
quick
hold on.
comment.
We gotta keep moving. I'm sorry. We gave you quite a bit of time earlier. This has got to wrap up in 8 minutes. And I want to make sure we get to the agenda. And I also wanted to respond to the folks who made comment. I share your frustration. It's not the same amount of frustration because I'm not out there every day, but it bothers me immensely that there are people who have come here, have asked for a response. We have attempted to provide that response and you're not seeing action. It's super frustrating. Mr. Wayson, Mr. Majid, I appreciate your willingness to be creative in problem solving and working with the police department. I will also say it's frustrating for me to hear what sounds to me as a lack of prioritization. I have the opportunity to hear folks from across the city express complaints and frustrations that require and request response from law enforcement. And I'm just going to go out and come out and say it. It does not sound like these folks' complaints are taken as serious as people in much more affluent communities who are expressing much less serious complaints, just to be totally candid. My office has engaged the police department. We've engaged the district attorney's office. We will continue to do so in partnership with Lenny and MTS staff. And I will be even more pointed in my requests as in my questions about why this is not taken as serious as other issues. I'll just wrap up by saying this. An incredible amount of city resources have gone to cracking down on street vendors, people selling hot dogs. And the threat posed to the community, to health and safety from those hot dog vendors, in my opinion, pales in comparison to what I've heard is going on in San Ysidro. And again, to me, that's just a matter of prioritization and whose concerns and frustrations and safety we prioritize over others. So I will continue to advocate. I understand the frustration. I stood there at the press conference. Let me tell you, I do not like the idea of standing there and expecting and saying that there's going to be a change, and then for you all not to feel any difference on the ground. So appreciate the creativity. We're always willing and always willing to be creative and see if it's a resource issue, but it does sound very much like it's a prioritization issue as well. And we'll just keep beating the drum that this is something that needs to be prioritized. Lenny, I appreciate your response to the other points that were raised. The next item on the agenda is topics for the next Taxicab Advisory Committee meeting. I'm actually, just in the sake of time, I'm going to request that folks take a look at that and send any additional ideas to Lenny. We will, let's see, time-wise, 2:55.
Chair,
Yes,
we do have a public comment for
on the
number 8, agenda item 8.
okay, we'll take that and then we will bypass item 9 then. If you'd like to take the public comment on item 8.
Yes, Juan Castro, please make your way to the podium.
Pero otra vez, para pues preguntar qué solución nos da para eso de los raiteros.
Juan Castro again, he wants to just ask what solution is being presented in terms of the wildcatters.
Yeah, so just for the sake of consistency with the rules, the item is about the next meeting, right? Potential agenda items for the next meeting. So we can take recommendations for that. I understand the desire to have a specific response to the question that was asked. We're working on it. But for this item is about the next meeting and what will be on that agenda. There's a list of potential items. Yeah.
Esta línea de la agenda nada más es para discutir los siguientes, la siguiente.
Porque yo entiendo que estamos pagando impuestos, todos los que manejamos taxis. Estamos pagando impuestos, licencia, de todo. Y yo les preguntaría si hay alguna forma de que el grupo de nosotros de San Isidro
He knows that everybody here is paying taxes and fees, and he just wants to see if there's a way for the group in San Isidro.
si podríamos ver si podríamos pagar un policía por 1 o 2 horas por semana que fuera para que nos ayudara.
If they could pay for a policeman or law enforcement to come for 1 to 2 hours a week to help.
Quería que nos ayudara con eso, digo, que no fueran las 8 horas, 2, 3 horas por semana, pero que hubiera no sé, una forma de erradicar esos.
So he's not suggesting for a full shift of 8 hours, just a few hours a week to start finding a way to eradicate the wildcatter problem.
Understood. So this is an ongoing conversation. I'll make sure that there is an update at the next meeting.
Esta es una conversación que se está llevando a cabo y que va a haber una actualización en la siguiente. A ver.
Pues esperemos, porque siempre se hace y nada se hace.
He's hoping that that's the case because something's always happening, but nothing ever happens.
En español se dice, te están dando a tole con el dedo. No sé cómo se dice en inglés. O sea que nomás están diciendo que sí, que sí, que sí.
Understood. So okay, we we're kind of going through the same thing all over again that we just talked about the last item. I'll just say it again. I understand the frustration. I too am frustrated. And it's not that this is an inappropriate venue, because this is obviously impacting the industry. However, at the same time, I think that the frustrations that are had are not necessarily just MTS issues. These are issues of law enforcement, right? Of the district attorney, of the police department. And while we are supposed to be a sounding board and a advisory board related to the industry, we're not going to solve every problem of the industry here, especially when it requires action from the California Public Utilities Commission, the San Diego Police Department, the San Diego County District Attorney. So that's why I want to provide an update at the next meeting. We'll have and I understand the frustration, but I'm gonna take my chair hat off for a second and speak as an advocate, as an organizer. It's important to identify the right target as well. And the right target to enforce the laws that you all want enforced is not necessarily this Taxicab Advisory Committee or MTS as an agency. The San Diego Police Department, the City of San Diego, and I wear that hat in a different meeting, the District Attorney's Office, the California Public Utilities Commission, those are the targets that will, I think, actually be able to enforce the laws that you all want enforced. So we'll continue to have the conversation again, because it's impacting this industry, but we also should level set expectations that so long as the majority of the energy is directed here, it is unlikely to see the outcomes that you want out in the community. So we're going to wrap up the item. We are a little bit past time. We're going to adjourn the meeting. The next meeting is on July 30th. And the commitment is for me, my office, will continue to beat the drum about this. We'll continue to work with Lenny. And I encourage everyone who's concerned about this issue to talk to the decision makers and the folks who actually can do the thing that you want done out in the community. All right. Thank you, everyone.